Hi guys, this is Jeff at Slavens Racing. This video is about the K-Tech ORVS fork valving system. And I'm going to install them in some new 24 exact forks. Right there. Off of this 24 350 XWF. Right now it's got some other forks on it. It's got some Slavens mule forks, but I'm going to put the stalkers back on it. I just have these mule forks on there for testing. That's a new fork that we are just now coming out with here in the midsummer of 2024. And you can look for a separate video on that. Maybe I'll even post a link down below. But anyhow, so this is the kit. Comes with these 2 fork caps with the adjusters, a nice knob style adjuster on there. These are the base valves, or you could also call them the compression valving. This controls the rebound valving. This fits inside the rebound in the spindle. And then there's a big rod that goes to the adjuster to push on this. All right, these come in a really nice packaging here. You can see, so everything comes in one piece like you want it. And then they make 2 different kits. So this one is the off-road kit. It ends in 005. They call it the Enduro Woods kit. Then they also make a XC kit. That part number ends in a 006. We stock both, sell both. I've not used one of these fork kits yet. I just put in one of their shock kits and I was impressed with it. It definitely improved the stock shock. So I'll make a video on that separately. Anyhow guys, stay tuned. I'm going to make a video on this video is going to be on how to install these. They want you to send these to a experienced suspension shop, and if you want to do that, I'd highly recommend factorysuspensionworks.com here in Colorado. Greg over there does a great job. He could do it for you. Or Warren up at endurоспec.com here in Parker, Colorado. Either one of those guys could do a great job installing these if you don't want to do it yourself. They probably don't even want me making this video, but some of you guys are pretty handy. If you're a totally beginner with wrenches, then don't do this job. Lock up your toolbox and send your forks to somebody else. This is not really for a beginner level person. But if you've been working on your bikes forever, you feel like you can do this, well then, dive in. All right guys, so stay tuned. I'll move on to the next part here. Okay guys, so from there we have to take the internals out of the fork and drain the fluid, all that. So you got to take both ends off. First of all, you're going to need a 50 millimeter wrench like this. Actually, it won't look exactly like this. The ones we sell are made by Motion Pro, so they're blue, made out of aluminum. This is one that I've had for 20-30 years. Anyhow, you got to loosen this up, and right now just loosen it until you can just barely see that yellow O-ring in there. So this takes a 22 millimeter, I believe. Yes. And the first thing you have to do is take off this, there's an adjuster down here. It's a red adjuster, a plastic adjuster. You got to remove that bolt and pull that adjuster off of there. Then you want to loosen this up. Okay, so that's good for there for now. All right, so I'm going to take this back out of the vise. I'm going to remove the fork cap first. And I'm going to dump the fluid. So I'm going to slide this outer tube down all the way. And then I'm going to dump the fluid. That's just the fluid in the outer chamber for now. Okay, now I'm going to reverse this. All right, now I'm going to pull the bottom assembly out of there. You know, this is really not unlike any other fork. Almost all WP forks, you got to take the cap and then this bottom piece out in order to get to the internals. Okay, so now the cartridge will come out, but I also want to push that out of there. Okay, now the cartridge is out. From here you got to remove the spring, and there's just kind of like a C clip type of a thing here. So you can just use your left hand, push down, and then this will come out. And the spring will come off. The fork tube assembly gets nothing done to it unless you need to replace the seals. And if you've got, you know, some hours on your bike, especially if any of them are in the mud, you should change those seals. And you always want to use the K-Tech SKF seals. That's by far the best seal on the market. I don't know of another seal that's even close. So I'd highly recommend use that. This is the little bottom piece that came out. Okay, now we've got the cartridge here. I've never had one of these apart before. I've had a lot of forks apart. I've been doing forks for over 50 years, so I definitely know forks. I just haven't had this exact fork apart. Alright, so let's see if all these things will slip off of here. Yes, they will. So I'm going to get those out of the way. Here's another little piece. Okay. So I'm going to double check here. Alright. And this tube can come off as well. Now the internals have to come out of here. Okay, from here I want to mount this in the vise and pull out the center section here to pull the compression valving and everything out of there, as well as the spindle and whatever else. Okay, from there I'm gonna, this is a tool that I made a long time ago before tools were available. So I'm gonna use that. We sell the tool to remove this. It's on our site, slavensracing.com. But I'm also gonna use this wrench on the outside because I don't really want to clamp hard on the cartridge here because it's aluminum. I could deform it. So I'm going to hold the cartridge with this. I'm going to remove the internals with this. I'll remove it until I see that yellow O-ring. Okay, at this point you have to push on the cartridge like that, and then it will come out. And then you just continue pulling it, and fluid's going to come out, so expect a mess. All right, there we go. From there, I've got I just squirted fluid all over the place. I'm pretty good at that. I'm going to put the cartridge in the vise, or the spindle in the vise, excuse me. And again, that's with soft jaws. Definitely do not just clamp it in the vise. Okay, now this part's got to come apart. I got to get the tools for that. Okay, in order to get this piece off, to get the spindle out of the cartridge, you'll need a 27mm wrench for here and a 24 for here. This is an old Mako wrench from a long time ago. Anyhow, this has got a lot of thread locker on it. So take like a propane torch and just heat this up until it starts smoking a little. You know, the thread locker will smoke a little. Some of the fluid that's in the porosity of the metal will smoke. But whenever it starts smoking a little bit, it should be loose enough at that point to get off. There's the rod here. Pushes on the rebound needle. This comes off next. It's going to come off a little bit hard going over the thread locker. Okay, put those two together. And when you're clamping on these spindles, you know, these are stout. You can clamp on these tight, and you really need to, because you don't want this spindle rotating in the vise, because it will take the coating off of it. It will kind of mess it up a little bit. Okay, from there, watch out, some more fluid's going to come out. Just push this into the cartridge. Now the spindle's out, set the cartridge aside. Let's see what we've got here for camera coverage, okay. All right, now I've got the spindle mounted back up into the soft jaws in the vise. And I'm just going to change this piece. This is what came on the kit. I've already put some thread locker on it. You can see right here where I put some red thread locker. You don't have to put a big glob of it on there. Suspension, you should definitely not do that, because it will migrate its way into the valving and into this spring and needle area here. And it will jam up your valving and make a mess, and your suspension won't work correctly. So don't get carried away with the thread locker. I see guys do it all the time on a lot of different items on their bikes, and it's really unnecessary. More isn't better for that. All right, so this is got a thread locker on it where it threads into this spindle here. And you're going to need to heat this area right in here. So from about here to here is where you want to heat. And you only have to heat it for 20-30 seconds. And I just used, you know, one of these from Ace Hardware. And I just held it right there. And yeah, the heat's going to get a little bit on that spring. It's going to get a little bit on the valving shims. But you're not going to be on it for very long. So you just need to do it long enough for that to loosen up to where you can unscrew it. Because before you apply the heat, it won't come off by itself. It won't come off, period. You can't hold it tight enough in the jaws. So I'm just going to take this out. Now this spring has got a little bit of a taper to it, and that's what keeps it locked onto this shaft so it doesn't float back and forth under the shaft. So you can see that's the stock assembly. Here's the new assembly. All right, so even though this piston is a lot longer here, that does not affect the amount of travel. The travel will stay the same. This takes a 17mm wrench. And you torcoholics are going to have a stroke because you won't be able to torque this. Just tighten it up. Just tighten it up the best you can. The thread locker will keep it from coming loose. Okay. So that's ready to go back into the cartridge now. Okay, when you're putting this cartridge back in, there's a seal down in this area. You want to make sure you don't damage it, so don't get too rough here. So I'm going to use a 10mm T-handle to push this down in. So you grab the line. I'm going to screw it a little bit as I do it. There you go. Down. Okay, now we'll reverse what we did before. This piece needs to go on. This is the anti-bottoming cup. So just keep it in the lesson here. This is mounted onto the shaft. Then the fork bottoms. This piece here goes into here. This is full of oil, so it creates a hydraulic block. Right now, it hit heavy the metal, but when it's full of oil, it won't do that. Okay, you don't tighten that. You don't tighten it this direction because it's got to lock against the other piece, which is this direction. Okay, so from here you need to clean these threads. You need to clean these threads, clean these threads. And then from here you need to put a red thread locker on here. So I can get to where you can see it. That's all I'm putting on. That's more than enough. And I use the Stuck Nuts brand of thread locker. I don't use any of the other brands anymore because they're all big corporations. I believe that Loctite makes the thread locker for just about every other company out there, and yet all the big ones. Stuck Nuts is a small company. The guy is a dirt biker, and he was trying to make a product that's not made by corporate America. So that's who we support him wholeheartedly. I'll get ahead of myself here. Okay, you just lock these two together. That's good to go. Another one's going to make you guys stroke out. Okay, so that's ready for fluid and this part to go back in, but I've got to change this part over to the new part. Okay guys, so I already did a little prep work on this piece just to speed up the video a little bit here. This nut, the shaft for this nut is swedged or mushroomed or smashed, or whatever you want to call it. Swedge is the correct name, but in other words, they put the nut on, then they smash the end of it, which makes it expand a little bit so that the nut won't come off. All right, so in order to get the nut off, you have to use a file, and you have to, while the nut is still on there, because the nut won't come off, you're gonna have to, there's only gonna be like one or maybe two threads showing, and you're gonna have to file at about a 45-degree angle all the way around that shaft several times in order to get this nut off. And then when you put it back on, we'll just use a red thread locker. All right, so all this stuff has to come off. Let's see here. Just park that over there. This is a deep well 13, I believe. Yeah, I already loosened this up. But you have to have a deep well 13 on your socket. And then this comes off. And there's this washer up here too. This washer has to be there because that's what this spring sits on. This is steel. If you forget that and you just put it up against the aluminum here, it's going to chew through the aluminum and throw all those particles into your oil. So you don't want to do that. All right, so this piece is this piece. I have no idea what changes they've made. I don't really care. But now we've got to put this on here. Put the spring on. Put this on. You can see it's got a lip to it there that goes towards the spring to keep the spring centered. And then we've got this piece. Got a seal in it also, so be careful with it. There's a seal right there in the middle. So let's see, is this shorter? Nope. Okay, now we've got to, let's see. Yep. We're going to leave this out. And we're not going to use that nut again. So this is going to go in here. I'm not going to spray that with compressed air because I'm afraid it'll blow the seal out of there. So I'm just holding this needle here. Well, I don't really need to do that. Just blow it out with your mouth. Clean this piece. Then we need some good old Stuck Nuts thread locker. And we want the red. And I know these are small, but I don't use blue on anything really. Okay, so put a little on here. Okay, that's what I put on. Like I said before, don't get carried away with the thread locker because it will just migrate up into these holes, end up in the valving. It just makes a heck of a mess. Okay. I believe that does it. I don't know if the new tool will fit this or not. Yeah, it'll fit. I'm going to pull this out for a second. And I'm pulling it out so I can measure it and see what size wrench I need for this. Looks like a 13. Okay. So, could pull this down and get a regular size wrench in there. I've got a really thin wrench by Park Tools. It's a bicycle wrench. I'm going to use for this. Okay, but let's move over this way. All right, that's good and tight, or good and tight. All right, now this is ready to go back in. It's going to go into the cartridge. I think that's all there is to it for this section. All right, now I've got to move over to the vise again. Okay guys, I'm ready to put the cartridge back together and then drop the cartridge into the forks, or fork tube. And as I believe I mentioned this at the beginning, if not I should have, I've never installed one of these kits before on any type of fork, these K-Tech kits. It's definitely a quality product. I don't know how the valving setup is going to work for here in the Rocky Mountains, but I'm going to find out. But anyhow, since I've never installed one before, I might run into a complication during this part of the video on getting the guts back into the cartridge. We'll find out. All right guys, let's move on with this. Okay, so the cartridge needs to have 175 cc's in here. I've already got that measured out over here in this beaker. These are the internals that need to go back in. So first I'm going to put the oil in and bleed it. Like I said before, I'm doing this by myself, so I don't have a camera crew here today to help me. So I just hold it until it starts dripping and then I stop. And probably end up getting oil squirted on me or somewhere along the line here. All right, so I'm going to put this assembly into the cartridge. Hopefully I can keep this on camera. Alright, I think that's going to work. And then this has to be pushed in, and it's probably going to go in a little hard. Yep. Okay, so since I've got that in there to where oil is not going to come out, I'm going to put this in the vise. Like I mentioned before, on the cartridge you should not clamp them real hard. You could distort the tube. Alright, so I'm going to take my tool that I made this quite a while back, quite a few years ago. It's just a socket that I machined. Anyhow, I'm going to use that to push that cap in. I brought home one of the Motion Pro tools and it does not fit this cap, so we're going to have to figure out a solution for that. But that shouldn't be a big deal. So I'm going to have to try to push this direction while I'm turning the ratchet to try to get the thread in there. Got it started in here. Good, good. Not working as bad as I thought. Okay, so that's in. Put this wrench on here so I can lock them together. Okay. No torque spec. Sorry, torqueaholics. Hope you don't have a coronary. All right, guys, so that part of this process is done. Now I have to bleed it. Okay, so this, let's double check this. Yeah. This hole right here in the cartridges is just a bleed hole. And during the cartridge's normal function, sometimes the cartridge will get a little bit overfilled from the outer oil transferring into the cartridge. But in this process, we're just trying to bleed the air bubbles out. So we're gonna, let me look at this and figure out how to do this because it's kind of awkward for me. Okay, so I'm just gonna stroke it in. So right now there's no fluid coming out of that hole. So I'm gonna stroke it in once, bottom it all the way out. Back it back off. See what we get. Got a little fluid. Okay. I'm just going to do that 2 or 3 times because you don't want to just keep doing it. Because there's normally pressure here on the outside from the outer tube that helps prevent this. Let's see here. Here's second stroke, third stroke. Yeah, that one I felt a bunch of air come out. So I'm actually going to do it one more time. Okay, it stopped coming out, so it's good. So I put 175 cc's in there, stuck the guts in, pushed the cap down in there, tightened it up, stroked it 4 times, and it's good. And guys always ask, because this same bleeding procedure applies to like back in 2011 with those closed chamber forks. Guys always ask if the rod should come out by itself, and yes it should. So there it is, it's fully extended. All right, this is ready to go back in. Sorry, gotta stop and look, make sure I'm on camera here. Nope, I'm not. Okay, try that. This piece goes in next. Oh, wait a minute. I'm forgetting a bunch of parts, sorry. So let's see if I can remember this. Yeah, I go first. Now I'm going to stop for a second and look at a parts fish just to make sure that I'm not getting these in the incorrect order. Okay, so there's this steel washer. It's just a flat steel washer. There's no different, it can go in either way. And it sits on top of this aluminum tube here. And the reason it's there is because this plastic piece goes on next. And this aluminum would chew this plastic piece up. So that's what the steel washer is there for. And it helps to understand why things are built the way they are. So if you want to modify it or just if you get confused during reassembly, then you can figure out why it goes together because it's built in a certain way. That doesn't make much sense, but anyhow, just memorizing parts is not always the best plan. You should understand why they put the part where they did. All right, so now I've got the fork spring on here. I'm reusing the stock ones. And I've got this retaining clip, so I'm just pushing down that. I've got the other end bottom, at a bottoming point where I can push on this, and then I just put that in. All right, now this is a hex shape. And there's a hex shape inside of this lug here. I'm going to have to make sure I get that positioned. So I just stuck my finger in there and jiggled this thing a little bit, and I can feel that it's dropped in. So now this goes in next. This is just the adjuster. Okay, that's ready to go, ready to be tightened up. I believe that's a 19. No, must be a 22. Okay. I don't know what the spec is on that, but I'm sure you guys can find it in your owner's manual. All that stuff's in the owner's manual. All right, from there, You just need to put fluid in the outer chamber in here. You put 350 cc's in there. Excuse me, 370 cc's is what I'm going to use. Factory spec is 390. I'm going to try 370. If it's too soft, then I can add a little more. All right, and then you just pop this together, tighten this down, wham bam, it's done. Then set your clickers. I don't know where they're supposed to be set. I'm going to count how many clicks there are, and I'm going to set it in the middle. So if there's 30 clicks, I'll set it at 15. And that's what I'm going to use for a starting point. I don't know how many clicks there are, though. There might be more or less than 30. That's just a number I used for reference. But anyhow, you can count how many clicks there are, set them in the middle, and that should be a good starting point for you. All right, guys, so that's all for this video on how to install this kit. I'll do another short video on after I ride it and just let you know how it works. I'll probably do it while I'm out on the trail. And so stay tuned for that as well. All right, guys, if you would, please like us on Instagram and Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. And the most important thing you can do is get out for throttle therapy. Nothing better than throttle therapy to clear your head. If your wife's getting on your nerves, if your job is bugging you, kids, whatever, throttle therapy is it's not gonna fix it, but it's sure gonna help it. So get out for some throttle therapy. I hope to see you on the trails this summer. That's all for now.